So what are some tips in terms of succeeding in an online school environment? The online school environment has really exacerbated, issues with students that were previously reported. For example, it is not uncommon to hear that your grades are going to drop in your first and second year compared to high school grades. It is not uncommon to hear that first and second year students are struggling with the course content because it is a lot more difficult. But also partly due to your transitional years from high school to university and college, and also the fact that you have to really shift your mindset in how things work in university and college. The learning environment is much different. The expectations are also much different. But in the online school environment right now, the issues with students being isolated at home, and also in particular, if you're a current first and second year student in university and college, you might not have had the chance of actually, meeting students in your program. So you don't really have the support of friends or the support of that community right now compared to upper years where they've had the chance to suss out the campus. They know where their resources are. They know who to reach out for help. And most importantly, they also have a group of friends in their particular program that they can form, many communities of practice to help them succeed. So if you're a first and second year student and you're struggling in this online school environment for the reasons I've just mentioned, what are some tips for you that you can implement so you can better succeed in the future? So a lot of students are struggling currently in regards to courses and grades. So my first step is, always reach out to your profs and TAs. In this online environment, the great thing that came out of this is a lot of professors and TAs are now offering, office hours for you to book. So it's no longer where, you're going to the office hours as dictated in the syllabus. A lot of professors and TAs are willing to, open up their schedule and let you book a time for you to, have a one-on-one chat with them. You no longer have to wait in line outside of their hallways or outside of the office, to wait for the previous person to, finish answering. So email your profs and TAs, your instructors, your teachers, whatever it may be, and ask for a one-on-one time. Go to them with, specific questions, whether it be about your career or course-related questions, or even, clarifying assignment questions. Ask them to have, 30 minutes, 1 hour, and have that one-on-one time so they can really, take the time and explain to you. Another thing you can do in order to, have those self-formed communities is if your course haven't already, create a Slack channel, for example, for everyone in your program to participate in, or for your course, or for the students in your course, so that you can have each other to support on, for each other to study or to have additional time outside of classrooms for you guys to discuss, course contents, whatever it may be. And another good idea is, if a group of you are struggling with a similar concept, invite the professor or instructor or TA to come to your little group to explain those concepts to you. I myself, my calendar is wide open. A lot of my students just find a time in there and book a meeting with me, and I, go over, career advice to instructions for assignments or to clarifying course concepts. And the students that come to me who are really struggling, but they come to me, their grades dramatically improve. They can, have that chance to really tell me what they thought the concept is, and I can tell them what they did wrong so that I can help them tweak their thinking so that they're in the correct path into understanding the concepts. But it's also a way for them to, learn different approaches of solving issues, for example. And also, like, one student recently brought in, their entire group to their online office hours. And it was a great experience for me because, first off, I got to know all these students, which during the online Zoom environment is quite difficult. But second off, this little mini group session online office hour was great because they got the chance to come talk to me with their specific group questions. But it was also a great way for, all of them collectively to hear what I had thought. And which is different if you were just emailing a question or, asking a question on a discussion board or just, chatting on a Zoom chat, for example, because when you do it in black and white, I can only answer that question you've asked. And oftentimes when students get the answer, they don't reply back. So I don't really know if they actually understood the concept or if they were still embarrassed at the fact that they still don't understand and they didn't feel comfortable emailing a follow-up. But when you're doing an online office hour, whether or not you're on camera or off camera, you can hear people's voices, and you can really gauge whether or not they're understanding and or if they're hesitating, for example. Then I can tell myself like, okay, maybe they're not really understanding, and I can further elaborate or further clarify or further explain it in a different format so they can understand it. And this is great for the students and for the prof, because I can actually finally understand whether or not students are struggling. And if a lot of students are coming to me with the same issue, then maybe I need to further clarify in a future lecture. But if it tells me that these students are struggling with XIC concepts because of ABC reasons, it allows me to better understand where the confusion lies, and it also helps me as a professor to teach better in the future. So if you're a first and second year university student and you're really struggling in your courses, make sure you reach out to your profs and TAs to ask questions. Don't be shy in booking an online office hour appointment, because it gives you the opportunity to have a one-on-one chat with your prof and TA. And for them, it's going to be a lot easier to tailor their content to you, because it is much different reading a question on, an email or a text versus being in person, where you can actually gauge whether the individual is absorbing the content properly or if you need to pivot your strategy on teaching them. And then finally, don't be shy also with starting different Slack channels with your with the people in your program or even for your course, so that you can form little communities of support for each other. And if there's a common issue that all students are experiencing, don't be shy of inviting your prof or TA to your little small group session so they can further discuss as well. And the main point here is having that one-on-one chat or even in a small group discussion chat with a professor in person is going to be much different, and you need to expect that what you get out of it is going to be much different than email or text, because of course it's going to be a lot easier to just ask a question via email or in a Zoom chat, for example, but the quality of the answer that you get is going to be much different than having a 10-minute phone call or discussion on Zoom, for example, because we get to gauge how hesitant you are after explaining it to you, or if you're absorbing the content. Oftentimes a lot of students are hesitant with a follow-up question, or they're embarrassed to re-ask the same question because they're not understanding it. But when you do it in person, you no longer need to be embarrassed, because you don't even have to ask, because we can gauge it based off of your tone and your voice or your facial expressions, and we can then do the appropriate follow-up clarifications if needed. So don't be shy reaching out to your profs and TAs. Make sure you book office hours. And also, it all starts with that first step. And then once you have a rapport with your profs or TAs, it's going to be a lot easier for you to ask questions in the future also. So definitely don't be shy.